3 teens are facing some serious charges after a brawl that broke out in a parking lot following a teen night at a local lounge.
Yeah, the melee was captured on cell phone video. Our Bill Churchwell spoke with both police and a parent whose son was at that event, and he has the latest on this top story.
It's estimated that the crowd was somewhere between 200 to 300 strong. It was so big that it actually stretched into the street. One witness describing it as pure chaos.
This is what goes on at night.
Even though we have blurred this cell phone video because of the ages of those involved.
As I get here, there's probably 250 teenagers out front.
You can still get a clear picture of the situation police were called in to handle.
Every 15 minutes, 20 minutes, there's another fight starting. They all kind of scattered out this way.
Daniel Fuller, a business owner here at Nile and McCardle, says he let his son attend a teen night at a lounge located in the same shopping center Sunday night.
When I got a phone call at 9:30, when they closed at 10, I already knew something was up.
When he arrived to pick him up, this is what he found. The establishment had just let out and all those teens were now in the parking lot. There were disturbances, even fights.
One after another, after another, after another.
Police had to be called in for backup to help disperse the teens and control the chaos.
2 officers that were working there were trying to control it, but called for assistance from other units, which we had units from all over the city responding out there. And when they got there, the kids were still fighting, weren't complying with orders.
3 teens between the ages of 13 to 15 years old were arrested and taken to the Juvenile Justice Center. They are facing a variety of charges, from disorderly conduct to resisting arrest. One of them is facing a charge for assaulting a police officer, which is a 3rd-degree felony. 4 other teens were given a ticket and released to their parents.
All charges could have easily been avoided if they would have just complied with orders and left.
Fuller is thankful for the police response, saying he believes it could have gotten a lot worse if officers hadn't shown up when they did.
So hats off to the men in blue. I think they did a fantastic job.
Bill Churchwell, 3 News.